Welcome to FluentPet Academy's Instructor Spotlight. We are bringing you courses and webinars from top industry professionals covering training, enrichment, animal behavior, genetics, and more. Here's your chance to meet the humans behind it all. Hi, Kim. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited to chat with you about the course that you're going to have presented on FluentPet Academy. I was wondering if first you could please introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what this course is going to look like.
Sure, yeah. So my name is Kim Brophey, and I'm an applied ethologist and the founder of the Family Dog Mediation Education Center and the L.E.G.S model of integrated canine science and a bunch of other nerdy little endeavors that I'm sure we'll get into some weeds about over the course of our conversation and time working together. But I'm excited to have the first offering be the Puppy Putty Problem and the kind of erroneous mistake we so commonly make of thinking that our puppies are blank slates for us to write on whatever we'd like.
I certainly thought that when I brought home Bunny, and that was a very steep learning curve for me. So I am very excited for this course. So tell us a little bit about what inspired you to teach this topic specifically. Why is this important to you?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different angles to come at our applied ethology content from, and we try to really like bring it home with some of the offerings, especially like when we're talking to the general public who loves their dogs and they want to have their dogs have the best life ever, but they may not realize that they've been pitched some falsehoods about who dogs are and what they need. And similar to my TED talk on the problem with treating a dog like a pet, we have these ideas like all dogs are inherently pets and they're here for us, and we go shopping for our puppy products to only then buy all these other puppy products and things that they need to be happy and all this. And we have this idea like we get the puppy we want and we just mold them like putty into the dog of our dreams. And we've been encouraged to think that way by like dog trainers and like the pet industry in general, that if you just tick all the boxes and you give them all the things that a good pet owner would give their dog, that you're going to have this fabulous, easy, wonderful fantasy life with your canine pal. And where's the room for the dog in that conversation? What does it look like? Who they are, like as a biological animal, what are their needs? Are we meeting them in captivity in the 21st century or not? And frankly, adjusting our expectations and getting a little bit of a reality check about fully shouldering our role in meeting their animal needs and giving them the best life possible as the best way to get the good dog we really want.
I love that so much. That's beautiful. I think it was in your TED talk, but I remember a quote from you, something like, humans are biologically primed to be stupid about
Yes.
dogs.
Yes.
And I think that is so true. We just have this like really cookie cutter idea about what a dog is supposed to be. And we don't leave space for the dog to be as huge as we are, as complex as we are. And there's so much that we can learn from them. So I love that quote. I've remembered it for years now after having watched your TED talk. I'm really excited about this course. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yep. Yep.
Um, is there a
Oxytocin's the
moment?
duper.
Oh, sorry, what? Go ahead.
I was just saying oxytocin's the real duper. So we get all like ooey gooey about like puppies and doggies, and then that all turns us into like idiots in our brains a little bit, where we just get ooey gooey and we just think if we baby it, then everything will be lovely. So yeah, we trip in that
Yeah,
stupidity. Yeah.
we sure do. I found myself in that trap.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. It's easy.
Deeply in that trap. Yes. It's nice to be out of it now, though.
Yes.
Can you share a memorable moment from your own education about this topic? Something where maybe like a light switch flipped on or something shifted for you?
Oh yeah, 10,000 client dogs over the years that basically were humbling me when you as a young dog trainer, even if I had a background in applied ethology, I come into the field and I'm like, I'm a dog trainer. And in order to be a good dog trainer, I have to make dogs do stuff and not do stuff. And that's what makes me worth my salt as a dog behavior professional, right? And then there's all these dogs that just check you again and again. And they're like, but really, lady, you're funny. And you can get them to do stuff. And sometimes you'll even get the compliance, you'll even get the behavior, but you get these little side eyes, you get these little looks, you get
Mm.
these feelings, you go to like reconnect and the dog moves away. And not even because we're doing anything egregious or ugly in our training process, but just because our ego is so leading the interaction with this agenda. And yeah, literally, I can think of thousands of moments where like you're working on a behavior and you're like, I'm using all the mathematics of behaviorism and learning theory to successfully modify the behavior by changing the outcome for the dog and providing the reinforcement and what have you. And then the dog is still, yeah, but I just want to go do this thing. This is what's in me as an animal. And I think that goes back to that putty problem is like, if when we have this idea that if they're blank slates, so then if we do the right training math, we should always get the right outcome.
Right.
Like we're God, as
Right.
opposed to there's already an animal there with their own intrinsic motivations for behaviors that they're
Hmm.
internally rewarded for engaging in. So our little
Hmm.
cookie doesn't compete with what that drive is, what's literally like purpose of life for them. It's their very nature. And we so dismiss it because we're like, but I'm training you to do the thing that I want you to do. It's very
Right.
humbling.
Yeah, it is very humbling. And I'm doing all of the right things. Like I'm following the equation and I'm using the
Yes.
cookies, and that's
Yes.
all it's supposed to take. But no, it's so much bigger. There's so much more that we should be looking at. I love this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. And so, like, as I know that you're on board with, it's like instead of just buying our own conditioned narrative that we've been given by this very successful pet industry that's making a lot of money off of us believing that, by the way,
Mhm.
finding out how to tap into and meet our dogs where they are and all of the crazy potential that opens up from that place, as opposed to this really transactional model that we've been told is like how we're supposed to do things.
Yeah, I love it. It really feels, you hear this all the time, don't treat dogs like kids. But at a certain point, you have to start believing that that they deserve the same level of presumption of competence in
Yeah.
order to live with them in as holistically a manner as I think a lot of people would like to, but can't quite yet because we have, like you said, been conditioned to believe that dogs fit in this little box and this is how we make them do the things we want to. And when we see them doing something we don't want to do, these are the steps, these are the formulas that we follow to get them to not do that thing. And that feels really backwards, and it feels really disconnected from how we used to live with non-humans and the potential for how we could live with non-humans today.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what excites me is the potential for the future because I think we're rediscovering dogs
Mhm.
and if we really fully engage that process authentically, I guess we get to rediscover ourselves too.
Yes, 100%. How exciting.
Yeah, I think so.
How has your approach to teaching evolved over time?
I think that for me, the thing that's really changed is instead of focusing so much on that how piece that our clients bring to us as this like imperative at the beginning part of our career, moving into this why piece that I know, the legs course and community is all about is like if we understand why something's happening and we look at behavior as breadcrumbs and we can source it back to the root of a problem and kind of address the disease, the underlying dysfunction in an animal's welfare that's resulting in the behavior problems, as opposed
Mm-hmm.
to just tackle the behavior problems.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is been everything. And so I think I felt pressure to deliver on the how so much for the first part of my career. And I got good at it, and which now I'm embarrassed about. I feel like I was a little too impulsive to use the power that I had as a trainer because I was able to get behavioral change, which makes the people happy. But if the
Mm-hmm.
dog's welfare is still compromised as a result of that, then we haven't really done our job. But that's not something we've really talked about for so long. And like we're just now getting there. So I think my approach to teaching has become much more directed by my inherent curiosity and kind of trying to unburden myself of the weight of perceived failure in not being able to control dog behavior that we're told as trainers is indicative of inadequacy, right? If we don't
Yeah.
control the behavior. And now I find myself so cautious about even making any action towards the dog to control them, but rather thinking
Yes.
about like, what is their experience and how do I meet them in that? And what's my responsibility as opposed to what's my right as the human with all the dominion over my dog.
Absolutely. I love that. And I couldn't agree more. It feels very like one dimensional versus now moving into three dimensions.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
love it. It's beautiful.
yeah, absolutely.
What did you want to be when you were growing up?
A veterinarian until I realized I couldn't deal with blood. That was the first thing. And then I always felt like I was going to do something working with animals and nature or kids growing up, but I wasn't sure what. I knew I didn't want to be a dog trainer based on experiences that I had with, which is interesting because
Yeah.
it was like those people try to control them and I don't want to do that. And then I
Oh,
thought I would move into just service dog and therapy dog training because at the time it was less about control and more about partnership. And I was
huh.
inspired by that. So that kind of brought me back into the field. And then I ironically ended up doing pet dog training and behavior consulting anyway. But yeah, just working with animals and trying to save the world, make the world a better place in some way, shape, or form. Still
You
ahead.
are.
I hope we're all doing something in some positive way, right? Like in these kinds of connections with folks like you make me feel really inspired that we are making change.
Thank you. Likewise. I feel very
Yeah.
inspired by this conversation.
Yeah, me too.
Is there a specific, no, I'm not going to answer this question because it uses the word failure and I don't like that word and I meant to take it out. What's something right now that you are currently learning or working to improve about your practice or yourself? It doesn't even necessarily have to be about dogs and training or teaching. It can just be anything more broadly.
Giving myself permission to be present and do one thing at a time and not multitask. Yeah.
I love
Because I
that. That's
think we all
hard.
we're all so overwhelmed and overstimulated, and we feel all this pressure to be juggling far more than the human brain was ever intended to juggle. And it takes us out of our bodies and it disconnects us from the people and animals around us and nature. And I don't
Mhm.
want to play anymore. So that's the thing I'm working on is giving myself permission to be like, no, you don't have to check that phone. And you can turn it off and not respond to that email till tomorrow or whatever. And I think we all need to encourage each other more to do that.
I think so too. I think it's so important. Everything is chaos right now. We were talking about this before. 2025 is just chaos. And there is so much to distract us from what's important. And I feel like what's important is connection and community and getting back to the basics. And I feel like a lot of what you bring to the table really emphasizes that. And I have a ton of appreciation and respect for that. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you. That's a good question too.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Who was it?
I've got 2 minutes before
Okay.
I've got to jump on another call, just so that we're like able to get whichever one is most important to you done.
Okay. I just have one more question and then we can wrap it up. Who is a teacher that made a difference in your life regarding this topic? So it could be somebody that you learned from in the past, somebody that you continue to learn from, somebody who's really inspired you.
Yeah, will, it won't be a surprise to anyone who's familiar with my work, but Raymond Coppinger, for me, like Ray said all the quiet bits out loud, whether they were welcome or not. And from a place of authenticity, humility, curiosity, and the true spirit of science. So instead of this kind of like conviction of an ideology that I think is like so dominating so many conversations in science and in the pet dog world today, where you get into all this divisiveness, like the spirit of scientific curiosity and wonder that Raymond Coppinger was so exhibitive of it's what I want to be able to channel and bring to the conversation going forward. We know so much less than we think we know, and
Yeah.
staying curious and
Yes.
humble is just kind of everything. And we're really losing that. And I just love that Ray brought such expertise and also a healthy dose of, I have no idea till every
Yeah.
moment. And I want to be able to continue what he brought to the table and keep carrying that torch of ethology, which is a lost science in our field. I love ethology because it brings us back to nature and who our dogs are from that evolutionary perspective, instead of this kind of like modern control artificial perspective. And it's a way to me of celebrating dogs as a way of celebrating nature. And Raymond Coppinger was just irreverent and hilarious, and I miss him terribly. And yeah, it's definitely Ray.
I'm obsessed. That's amazing. I love it. It's
Okay.
so good. Yeah. Kim, this has been such an inspiring conversation, so elucidating, and it's always my complete pleasure to speak with you. So thank you so much for taking the time today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me and for having me involved with FluentPet.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
Subscribe.